Welcome, everybody. Episode 56 of the Harsch Review. We are closing out 2018 with a bang. This episode we'll be talking about Vice, Bandersnatch, and Bird Box. But before we get there, let's see who you're talking to. My name is Sean, and with me, as always, is my beautiful older brother, Ryan. Ryan, what's going on?
Good, Sean. Thank you.
Yeah.
Taken aback by that little compliment.
Oh, just got to keep you on the edge there.
Yeah, thank you.
How's your heading up to New Year's going so far for you?
Good. Just been doing a lot of relaxing. Not much in the way of productivity, which is fine by me. I'm on vacation, so
Nice.
not really expecting much, but that's the way I like it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, same here. I haven't done a whole lot. I mean, I had a few days off last week around Christmas time. Just was doing a lot of different, streaming games and stuff on Twitch over at Twitch TV. Was it twitch.com/Harsch, SHARSCH? Come follow my channel over there. Watch me play games with my buddy Matt, also known as Grim Wolf Prime. And
Prime.
Yeah, Prime, baby. And we're having a lot of fun over there. Maybe it's Twitch TV. I don't know what the hell it is. I should know.
Nice.
And then watching some shows and things like that.
Yeah.
I've been watching Patriot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that for a minute. What do you think?
So I got through the first season, and I'm like too deep into season 2. It's a interesting show. It's kind of depressing.
Yeah.
But it's kind of got like a Wes Anderson flavor to it, and it's got a little bit of I don't know. It's kind of unique in how they present it.
Right.
But
it's very dark.
Yeah, the main character has kind of got like he does a good job playing it. It's kind of got his folk songs and stuff, I think, add a nice flavor to the show. The story was getting more and more interesting. It kind of was starting off a bit slow. But then you kind of realize everyone around him is a little bit of an idiot, and they don't really provide you a lot of backstory into how he got to where he's at today. You kind of just get that through little snippets. So for those who haven't seen it, it's an Amazon show, and he's basically like an intelligence officer that's been off the grid since he was 19, and him and his brother work for his dad, who puts him on various assignments.
John Locke?
John Locke, yes. But they don't really give you any history on how he was trained or what his skill set is. So you see him doing all kinds of stuff, and he just does it with this cold-blooded demeanor, like he's just a depressed guy. That's his whole theme. He's like just sad and depressed. And so the story just has gone in many directions I didn't anticipate it. And so, it's been pretty interesting so far. I would definitely recommend it to anybody who's looking for kind of like a slow burn, espionage type of thriller, I guess, so to speak.
And Clarence Bodiger from RoboCop's in it, and he's fantastic.
He's really good. He's such an asshole.
He's just it's just funny, like you said, everyone around him is just kind of messed up, and it's like everyone around him wants something from him, and they're all trying to blackmail him or get him down, or so it's interesting to see the culmination of everything that happens. I think it's a good show just because it's so different and it's original, and there's really nothing else like it. So when I first saw it, it took me a while to get into it, but I was like, oh, this just have like a Wes Anderson vibe, but very cool. It's a very cool show.
You've seen the first 2 seasons, I assume?
I saw season 1. I'm about to start season 2.
Okay.
So, I actually rewatched season 1 not too long ago.
Yeah.
I saw it.
When I went to watch it...
It was out for a while.
Yeah, when I went to watch it, Amazon said, oh, you watched the first 4 episodes. I was like, I did? And I guess I did, and I remembered some things, but I started all over again and just kind of went through it, and then it really starts to kind of hook you once you kind of understand where it's headed and what the whole point of it is. But it's very unique. I think the quality is really good, and it's well shot. The music's excellent. Really worth checking out. It's kind of a sleeper hit for somebody who doesn't know what it is, but check it out.
Yeah, I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, thank you.
Been pushing that one for a while.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, I saw on Christmas Day, I went and saw Vice.
Oh, okay. Let's get into it. Vice. Tell me about it.
Yeah. Well, I love this movie. It was, it's basically, for those who don't know, it's about Dick Cheney and his rise to power. Played by Christian Bale. Also stars Amy Adams as his wife. Donald Rumsfeld is played by Steve Carell, and George W. Bush is played by Sam Rockwell. And, everybody else who you expect to kind of pop up is in there too. I thought it was really good in terms of it's basically directed by a comedy director, Adam McKay, who's done The Other Guys. He's done Anchorman. He's done Step Brothers, which placed in our top 10, I believe, of our favorite comedies, right?
Yes, it did.
So it's more or less like a satire. It doesn't really, I mean, it is a liberal slant to it, but it is very fair and balanced. So those who are saying, oh yeah, it paints Dick Cheney as this like crazy sociopath. Well, I mean, it kind of takes that road, but it also paints him as like a family man. He loves his daughters. So it's not really being too leaning to one side or the other, I thought. And even kind of makes fun of that during the movie. So it doesn't take itself too seriously. It paints the facts pretty accurately. Doesn't really get into Cheney's motivations, which is one thing I found kind of interesting. So it doesn't show why he kind of did the things he did, while he was rising to power in Washington, which started way back with the Nixon presidency, all the way up to his role in 9/11, and then up to shooting the guy in the face with the at the quail branch. So it covers all that. All the heart attacks are almost humorously portrayed because the guy had a lot of them. In contrast to a movie like W, which kind of tread the same ground, with W, it was kind of like, oh, it's that guy playing that guy. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, Josh Brolin, and oh, look, it's Donald Rumsfeld. Oh, look, it's Dick Cheney.
There's a novelty to it, right?
Yeah, it really takes you out of the movie. With this movie, though, with W, like the actors are so good. Within like 20 minutes, you're not even thinking like, oh, that's Christian Bale, because you can't even recognize the guy for one thing.
He's a fat Christian Bale.
Yeah, and you could there's a one scene where you're like, oh, like yeah, he is. He probably did gain that weight because you know how he is. So, no, I mean the actors and everyone is so good, like you don't even think about that. It just becomes a really strong like acting piece. There's little things that are done to like show who the characters are. Steve Carell's great. Like this is his kind of stuff, like where he plays Rumsfeld, and there's little things that he does that kind of show the character that you might miss. Like, for instance, he walks in the Oval Office and he like trips and stumbles over something. It lasts like 2 seconds, but it's still like kind of funny a little note.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and there's other ways that I won't spoil where they tell the story that are really unique. Like, it just kind of take you out of the film for just a minute, but there are different ways of driving the narrative that they use that are, I guess, kind of self-referential, but they're different. I haven't seen them kind of done in any other film before, which I thought was cool. So I'll give you like a quick example. Like they're talking about all the things that they're doing, like for, anti-terrorism. There's like, water torture, and there's like Guantanamo Bay. And then it cuts to a scene where they're all in a restaurant, and then it's Alfred Molina is playing a waiter, and he's in a quick cameo, and he's like reading in the list of like all the options for terrorism, like as if he's reading them like a fancy dinner menu. I thought that was really cool because it is kind of like, instead of saying, yeah, we're going to do this, this, and that, it's like, let's find a creative way of driving the story along, but making it kind of funny and not so dry as a lot of these films tend to do. Jesse Plemons is in it, fat Matt Damon.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. Which I that was a surprise. I like him. I didn't think he'd be in it. But yeah, it was really good. I definitely recommend it. Never, like I said, takes itself too seriously. And from what I'm looking online, of course, it's going to be, it's very polarizing. So like some people are like, yeah, I loved it. It was good. And then the naysayers like, it was boring. I didn't like it. So
can't please them all.
Yeah, whatever it is, it still stands as a good satire. I think hopefully it'll win some awards. Everyone was great. I mean, McKay directed it and he wrote it, and it just kind of takes you right into the movie from the start. And a lot of really thought provoking images. Very educational. Learned a lot of stuff from it. So it's kind of a no miss for me. I mean, it was great.
So so tell me a little bit about how much time do they spend on young Dick Cheney versus during his time as vice president?
Well, it's like I said, with the narrative devices, it's interesting because it's not like straightly linear. So, I mean, the first thing you see is like right after 9/11 when they're hurrying everybody out to safety in the Oval Office. And then it cuts back to, young Dick Cheney, who's like, I guess he's just out of college, but then it keeps kind of going back and forth. So it doesn't spend like a whole lot of time on young Dick Cheney. It just kind of gives you the highlights of his career. Which I thought was refreshing instead of just, we're going to start with his young life and then we're going to go to this and then we're going to go to that. No, it cut back and forth in a way that kind of informed, the past and the present, if that makes sense. Which is cool because the biopic film or whatever, it does get kind of dry when it just takes you straight through, the beginning.
It's linear.
Yeah. So with this one, it's very much of its time where it's definitely like cutting back and forth, engaging, but it doesn't dwell too much on certain aspects, which I thought was good about it. It's definitely very unique and fresh in terms of telling a story.
Does so with Christian Bale, he's not all giant and fat when he's young Dick Cheney, right? He's is there like a physical transformation of character here?
A little bit, yeah. I mean, he is kind of bulky and stocky, but I mean, the thing about Dick Cheney in real life too is the guy's like quiet, So he's always like brooding. It's almost like he's talking out of the side of his mouth half the time, So it's like he definitely fits that character so well. And the film even tells you in the beginning, like, we don't know if all this stuff is true or not, but it is informed by either like, release documents or testimony or whatever. So there is a little bit of that, but you just kind of see it happen. And, like a lot of movie, I think Philip Seymour Hoffman was like this for me too. It's like you're watching a movie with a minute and then after a while, you're like, that's not Philip Seymour Hoffman. You don't really think about that. It's just a really good character. So with Bale, like he just plays his character to where you're like, yeah, that's not even Christian Bale anymore. That's just Dick Cheney, that's who he's playing. Sam Rockwell's good. He's not in for that much. Amy Adams is great too, as his wife. So
Sam Rockwell isn't in it too much, no?
Not too much, but he's in it enough. I mean, he's funny. The first time you see him, he's drunk at a party. And it's like, oh, that must be George W.
And he did. Do you think he did better than Thanos did when he played W?
I think so. It was a lot more like understated. And again, I think they're both good actors. I think, but I think Josh Brolin was probably miscast in that.
Yeah.
It's just that's kind of when that movie came out, it was almost too soon kind of thing. I mean, I think when it came out, it was like right after the presidency, right? So it was like, you need time to like reflect on the character.
Yeah, it landed, I think, a month before Obama got elected.
Yeah, pretty quick. So with that movie, like I said, it was a lot more of a caricature, whereas Vice was like, yeah, it's like they're playing characters as if it were a play, because a lot of the scenes, there's not like a whole lot of people involved. So it's a lot more dialogue intensive, but there is a lot of interesting things, a lot of like they use the news and they use footage. So it's not like they're just pulling stuff out of thin air.
Do they do it like Forrest Gump status where they, have an actual scene that involved Dick Cheney, but then they overimpose Christian Bale into it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They had some of that. They even had like where Bush was on the aircraft carrier, they had Rockwell doing that, and you can kind of tell, but the technology's not all up to that yet, but they had a lot of that. Just didn't get too dry.
Sure.
For me. It was interesting the whole time.
So tell me about the music. I assume it's all kind of like upbeat hip tracks, kind of keeps the movie alive. Was it a lot of modern kind of music from that period of time, or was it more of a score? How did they handle music in the movie?
Some like I didn't. The music to me was kind of incidental. I mean, they had some like modern songs of the time, but it was more like some orchestral type stuff. But nothing too like imposing. So, yeah, it wasn't, certain movies I'll definitely notice the soundtrack. With this one, it didn't really stand out too much.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, okay. But yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to see it. It looks interesting to me.
Check it out.
But so do you think Christian Bale's going to have a shot at winning an Oscar, you think?
Oh, I think, if not winning, like definitely nominated. I could see those four getting nominated for sure. Amy Adams, Christian Bale, Steve Carell, and Rockwell. But he just won, so, he might not give him something, but Carell was good, man. He was really funny. Like it was kind of doing like a Michael Scott at times, but because Rumsfeld's just kind of a bumbling idiot, kind of like Michael Scott. But it was a little bit like more of you could take it a little more seriously in terms of the acting. He's a good actor. What's that movie? The wrestling movie?
Oh yeah, Foxcatcher.
Foxcatcher. He was good in that too. So when he does these like serious roles that are semi-serious, you're like, yeah, he could definitely pull that off well. He did it really good.
Nice.
Yeah,
that looks cool. Well, I'm glad you went and got out to see it. Any good trailers or anything that you saw?
Well, this the one I remember was for the new Jordan Peele movie. That looks trippy, man.
I haven't seen the trailer yet.
Looks like my kind of movie. It's called Us, and it's got two of the characters from Black Panther in it. So there's Lupita Nyong'o, and then one of the other guys. I forgot his name, but they're in it, and it's like they go away to like a summer house, and then one night they wake up and they look out in the driveway, and there's like exact copies of them standing out there. But they start like terrorizing them, and it gets really serious. It's not. No humor at all in this one. So
good.
Definitely like a horror movie, but it's gonna have, I think it's gonna have like some kind of social commentary, intelligence in it too. So you can't really tell sometimes from the trailer, but that one really impressed me. But a lot of the other stuff was just kind of the same stuff, nothing too crazy, nothing too promising.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, it came out right in time to land some recognition. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's doing better than. I mean, there's not really a lot of other stuff I want to see. I do know Holmes and Watson has been doing pretty terribly.
It's been getting slammed.
Yeah, it's got a 6% on Rotten Tomatoes, and people are walking out like crazy. They're tweeting all over the place. I don't know. I was texting someone about this last night. I think it's just. I mean, those two actors are great, but it's like you have to have the right script. And then, honestly, with like a PG-13 rating, it's like you're not able to really cut loose like those two, usually do. So it's like you're going to see them, but a lot more restrained because in their other movies, those are R-rated, and it was like anything goes. So it's like when you're doing like some kind of family-friendly film in the holidays, you're not going to be able to get like the full range of those two and their chemistry. Which, whatever. I mean, that's going to happen.
Yeah, I also kind of find that a lot of people don't tell them this is a bad idea because of who they are, so
I
think there's that kind of element to it.
Sure, always.
Yeah, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it is.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah, we will see.
All right,
well, see Vice.
Let's move on to Bandersnatch or Bandersnatch.
Badger Snatch.
Badger Snatch? Yeah.
This is a Black Mirror film, and it just came out not too long ago on Netflix, and it's an interactive. They've been talking about this for a little bit, but it's finally here. It's an interactive movie similar to a Choose Your Own Adventure book that you might remember from when you were a kid, Sean.
Yes, I do. Those were fun.
Yeah, they were. So this is basically that, but in a movie. So first of all, what were your impressions, Sean? What do you think?
Oh, well, first, I normally watch all Netflix on Apple TV, so I had to do this one on PlayStation because it needs to be interactive, and which I kind of get. And it's very much like, even having it be on PlayStation, it's like a video game. And that's kind of the whole theme and story point of what it is. So I knew what to kind of expect, that it was going to be a choose your own adventure movie, but I didn't really know how it was going to do that. And so it kind of started off with trivial decisions like, what kind of cereal do you want to eat? What kind of music do you want to listen to? And then you have 10 seconds to decide. It's A or B options only. And then you pick one, and then that's the path that the movie goes. And so they did a pretty good job of editing it and having it flow, and there's no loading in between your decisions that come along. So at first there's kind of that novelty aspect to it, and then you really start making decisions that you kind of feel are, have more weight to them.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get into the real details, but for me to summarize, I thought it was a really cool idea and concept, but I didn't really think the story was too good.
And it almost seemed like they were testing the waters for stuff later on.
Just engagement stuff,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely had that Black Mirror-esque feel to it, and and that's one of my favorite shows right now. So that's, they are very good at like commenting on current events and technology in general. But it almost felt like they were testing the waters for stuff later on, or just breaking new ground, but not so much, it's just stepping outside of that story for a minute.
Yeah, and so what's kind of ironic to me is that, I'm always been a big gamer. I've always loved playing games, and a lot of it is, there's a couple elements. Is one, you have the arcade competitive side, which I think is always fun. That comes from roots of wanting to play chess or doing things like that. So I always love the competition and the personal challenges. But then every once in a while, you'll find one of those games that has like a really good story. And you're engaged in the story, and you kind of feel like it's just as good as a book or a movie that you could watch. And so this really was like a video game.
Yeah.
And I've played video games that are very similar to it. That there was a game I played called Rain, I believe is what it was called. And it was basically, it wasn't like a really controller heavy game. Like you kind of guided your character from these plot points from A to B, and then made these decisions. And then the way that the game would end would be unique to you based off of your decisions made. And that's kind of the whole theme of what Bandersnatch is, the plot is, it's a game designer in the 80s, and he's trying to design this game, but has to make decisions along the path. He's got some baggage, and then, but ultimately, you end up resolving the story based off of the choices you make. So I think that if people enjoy it and they don't like video games, they'll kind of find themselves in that little hypocritical section where they're going to kind of have to come to terms with, if I enjoyed this is basically what video games are. They'll
get exhausted with it though.
Yeah, there is
you could like neatly wrap it up, and there was a point, like when I was watching it, I was writing down my choices, because I was like, I'm going to go back and watch it again, but there were times where they let you go back.
So here's how, for me, I ended up picking, like, when you go on Netflix and you click to watch it, it says it's an hour and a half long. But after about 35, 40 minutes, my story ended. And it's like, go to credits or go back to this decision point and choose the other option. And so I kept doing that until I exhausted everything.
Pretty much. Me too. Yeah. I mean, I liked it enough to do that. And I do know that I read somewhere they shot like 5 hours worth of material.
Yes, so about five and a half hours worth of content.
Yeah.
So I mean, so I felt like I took like the worst path possible, and then decision points that I didn't really think about really led it to a completely different direction, which was kind of cool to see how they pivoted it. But I never really felt like it was because the decision I made. I felt like that was just I really couldn't connect the dots. So, for example, there's a scene where I'm in the characters, and I'm saying like it's a video game. The character's in a doctor's office talking to his shrink, and she goes, "Oh, do you want to talk about your mother?" And your choice is yes or no. And so I say no, and then the dialogue kind of comes around again. She's like, "You sure? You sure you don't want to talk about your mom? It might make you feel really good." Then the same decision came up again, and I kind of felt like, oh, you're really nudging me towards this direction.
There was one scene too where I picked something and it was like, oh, it's the wrong one, and it took you back. So,
yep, I did that.
My very first one too. Yeah, me too. Like the big one. So, that was kind of like, I mean, it's almost a commentary on itself. It's like the medium's not going to be perfect. Because this guy's designing a game, and it's like he's finding out that a lot of the choices are giving you like a dead end. And it's kind of like that. I mean, it's like any choice you make or whatever, you're going to be going back to where you were, but there's always going to be infinite possibilities. So it's hard to make, I think it's hard to make a program where you're going to have like infinite possibilities like that. That's why I kind of,
it's the illusion of choice, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm kind of sticking to like, this was a good testing ground for, you know, because it's cool. I mean, it's a really cool concept. I mean, I can't really think of anyone else doing this outside of the video games and bringing it into TV, but it's just, you're going to get some people to be like, well, I don't want to think, you know, like I don't want to sit there and push, you know, so you're going to get a lot of people. You do
need to be more engaged with it.
Yeah. If you're a Black Mirror fan, I think you can definitely get into it because it's cool. You know, it's kind of like you're sucked into the Matrix as you're watching it. So it's like, as this kid's kind of going nuts and down the rabbit hole, you're going with them. So it's like, you're getting sucked in as much as he is, which is kind of cool. Cause I kept doing that too. I'm like, I could go to the credits. Let's try this, you know, and it just took you into a lot of different paths.
Well, what I found is that like, I probably saw 3 or 4 different endings, and like, they're all messed up. Did you actually, so this isn't really spoiling anything, but the kid's making a video game. And depending on the path you choose, he's either successful in doing that or not. Did you actually get to the one where he actually made the game?
Yeah. But then,
and that's still messed up.
Yeah. Then something else bad happened then too. So it was definitely not, any sunny skies for this guy, like in the end. But there were like definitely infinite possibilities. You know, there was some like drug taking, there was like a monster that came out of nowhere, you know.
Yeah,
so there's
it got really violent
things.
in some areas.
Yeah, I was like, geez, dude. But I mean, I thought it was good. I mean, in terms of like just a Black Mirror, like episode, I think it was. I mean, I thought it was cool. It was definitely engaging for me.
What did you think of like because I haven't seen a lot of Black Mirrors. I don't know why. What did you think of the overall message that it was trying to tell in regards to, because the analogy that they line this up with is with Pac-Man, where they say it is what, program and control man, PAC, which I don't know if it's real or not, but they kind of said the premise of Pac-Man
is just an analogy,
the illusion of control, where you're in this maze and you can make your decisions, but you can never really leave the maze. And so, in other words, like our lives are predetermined. We actually aren't making the choices in our lives, although we think we are. We're following a predetermined path that's going to have the same outcome one way or the other.
I drew the parallel to a little bit like Clockwork Orange, where it's like that movie and this one have similar themes, where it's like free will versus, you know, having a predetermined kind of conditioned path for you. So that's kind of what this is about to me. It was like you can either pick what you want and deal with the outcomes, or you're going to have people deciding for you, or influencing what you say. So I think that was pretty cool. Just to use like the video game, they could have done it with a lot of other things too. Mm-hmm. I think this with the video game theme or the storyline, you had it make it a little more closer to what you were doing off screen, or at home.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but yeah, that's kind of what it wasn't so much unlike a lot of the other Black Mirrors where it's kind of a commentary on technology. This one was a little bit bigger of a theme. But I could see how technology can play into it, where it's like you're influenced by technology. You're kind of almost a slave to technology, which is the overarching theme of the whole show. So, that's kind of what I gleaned from it, in terms of that. But like it's like any of the episodes, the ending's always going to be kind of dark and definitely thought provoking though. And just making you reflect a little bit, the decisions I make do affect the outcome of the whole thing. But in the end, it's like, sometimes those decisions are always going to be made by me or for me. So you kind of, it's like you're trapped in this continuum thing, I guess.
I'm with you.
Much like, if I'm making sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stop making sense.
Much like Pac-Man.
There you go.
I thought that was cool. That was
clever.
Yeah. And the Colin guy, his name is Will Poulter. And
where have I seen him before?
He was supposed to be It. So he was the original pick for Pennywise.
Okay, but I've seen him in something else. Do you know what that is?
He was in a movie called Meet the Millers or something. Or I forget. I'm looking him up right now. One thing I did see him in though, not too long ago, was in the movie Detroit. And he was, he was in The Revenant.
That's right. He's the, yeah, that's where I recognize him from.
He was the other guy. He was in The Maze Runner and We're the Millers. He was in, Detroit, and he was like supremely like evil in that film. And he was really good. So he's like, I think he's going to be one of these guys to watch because he could definitely play a lot of different roles. But in Detroit, he was a supremely like an evil, racist, bigoted, violent cop. And then in this movie, he was like something completely different, whereas he's almost like the alter ego of the main character. Kind of, or is like his guide, I guess, through this whole whatever. So, and he may not have been real. Think about that.
It's possible. I never really thought about that, but then, I mean, that doesn't, that'd be kind of weird. I got to look at it again that way and see if it's one of those things.
I just came up with that theory, but
but it's possible. Never know. Because, I mean, they said he goes away a lot at times and blah, blah, blah. And he's made all those games, but I don't know. He definitely had that kind of vibe to him.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let's move on to our final flick here, which is another Netflix movie, Bird Box.
Yes.
And this one, Sandra Bullock, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so for me, I did not see this, so I'm going to defer to you to take the lead on this.
Okay, well, I won't give away too much. I do know what I can tell you is this movie had a huge debut on Netflix. I'm not sure why exactly. Not to disparage the film or anything. I just, you never really hear about any kind of movie having like a big, storming debut, but it did very well. Let's say that. It stars Sandra Bullock, John Malkovich. Have you ever seen him in anything where he's not just like, he just always looks like he's going to go off at any minute and lose his shit.
Dude's wired tighter than a snare drum.
Yeah, like everything he's in. My favorite film he did, Burn After Reading. That's
that's good.
He's great. He's great in that movie. But it's more or less like an apocalypse, one of those post-apocalyptic premises, but it flashes back and forth. Don't want to give away too much. More or less, it goes back and forth from present day, and I put that in quotes because that's the time that after this apocalyptic thing has happened. So 5 years after, and then back to the past where it started to happen. So we start in the present, more or less, and it's her and two children, and they're going to go down river to look for help. However, the twist is they have to wear blindfolds because there's an evil out there that if they see it directly, it'll drive them crazy.
Okay.
So that's that. There's that, and then so it goes back and forth.
Kind of like a Quiet Place hook, like don't make any sound, that kind of evil, or
so this one. So that's a good that you brought that up, because this movie reminded me of a kind of a mashup of that movie and The Mist. Have you seen The Mist?
I have, yeah.
Which I thought it was a good movie. I think it was like, it's a good Stephen King story.
It's a show too, right?
Yeah, the show sucks. Like I started watching the show and I'm like, come on already. Like it was trying to do too much with the show. The movie I think was really good. But the part where it reminded me of The Mist was that basically when she's in when this thing starts happening, it happens in Russia, and then it starts happening. So we don't know what it is. Like it could be a biological thing or chemical or whatever. She ends up going to this house and barricading in this house with some other people. And John Malkovich is there, and he's one of them. And he's just like always unhinged and always about to lose his shit, drinking a lot. But that part reminds me of The Mist a little bit, where they're all in the house, and then as they're in there longer and they want to venture out a little more, but they're not sure what to do, like the paranoia kind of grows and festers. So that's kind of cool. So I thought it was a good movie. Definitely check it out. I don't want to tell like every single detail because it gives a lot of it away, but very cool. I mean, it's a couple hours, so it is a bit long, but excuse me. I thought it was good, like very good in terms of drawing the suspense and keeping you guessing. And after a while, it's like the mystery, like a lot of these movies, where the terror is kind of incidental to like what the people are doing. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And did it feel like a Netflix movie? Did it feel like a theatrical release? Like, where does it sit in regards to the platform this was released on and the quality of it?
Quality was good. Like I felt like I could have seen this in the theater, you know. If it did come out, I probably wouldn't go out to see it. I'd probably just stay home and watch it on Netflix.
Yeah, I know.
But I could see it, you know. It had some good, you know, some name actors in it, but you know, I definitely could see it released in the theater. It was that kind of good. But yeah, it had a big, strong debut, and it's still doing well. It got some good reviews, so I was like, yeah, I'll check this one out too.
Yeah, I've just read mixed reviews on it that it was not gimmicky, but it didn't have a lot of substance to it.
Yeah,
you know, like like what I kind of notice for like Netflix movies, and I don't know if this one's the case, so maybe you can let me know. But there's a certain simplicity to them. There's not a lot of complexity. There's not a lot of variety in location shots. Everything's kind of ground level. You don't get a lot of like aerial shots or environmental shots per se, so it kind of feels a little bit more claustrophobic. Like they cut out a lot of this fancy B-roll footage, and it kind of always stays on point for the most part. A little bit more personal, intimate. Did this one kind of have that same type of vibe?
I think with this kind of movie, like those complaints, if you call them that, are like they kind of lend themselves to the genre, you know, because half the movie they're in this house, they're not leaving the house. So it's like, you know, which I didn't expect that, you know, because when I first saw like the previews, I was like, oh, this all takes place outside, and they're going to find safety, and they have these blindfolds on, and they're in a boat. I didn't expect them to like go, oh, this is what happened when it first started, and she's trapped in this house with like 6 or 7 other people. So, you know, but half the movie at least is in this house. So, you know, that kind of lends itself to the terror / suspense or whatever that you're going to get with this kind of film and the story it's going to be told. But I don't know. I mean, I can see those complaints. It's like they're making so much content. It's like they got to tighten the old coffers, you know, a little bit. Not spend a lot of money on stuff, but they did get Sandra Bullock, you know, so it's like they're spending money on the name actors to get the pull for their shows, but it's like certain genres, I think you're not going to get like those big overhead shots. But they were outside. It looked nice, you know, so there were location shots. It's just a lot of it is going to be, it's more like the tension between people that really makes this movie what it is.
Gotcha. Huh. Okay.
Yep.
Well, there it is. The Bird Box. I'll need to check it out.
Bird Box. Yeah. Look, watch it. It's we're checking out.
Okay. It does what it's told.
Yes.
Right on. Anything else to throw in? What do you? Anything else on your radar that you plan on getting to in the near future?
No, like going to see in the movies.
Oh, just at home or in the movies.
I've been reading. I've been tearing through these Game of Thrones books. To be honest with you.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good on it. So, and they're really good books. Like, I know we talked about them a couple episodes ago, but I already finished the first one. Second one, I'm like halfway through it. And then like I said, I was going back and watching the show, like just to kind of comment on what I already read.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been doing that. But then as I've been on HBO, I've been like going back and watching Deadwood again, which I haven't seen in a while, which is a fantastic show. For those who haven't seen it, Deadwood, check it out.
Yes, please.
The Al Swearingen, man, that's just a character.
Doesn't get any better than that.
No, and it's like if that guy only did that role, like kind of like Al Bundy, if he just did that, Ed O'Neill just did Al Bundy, it's like that's fine because that's such a defining role for that guy. He makes the word cocksucker sound like poetry.
Yes, he does.
More or less. He says it about 20 times an episode. But yeah, I've been checking that out. That's a good show. But just kind of going back and watching stuff. Because it just doesn't look like they're rolling out a lot of stuff I want to see. Which,
there isn't a whole lot coming out,
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't mean we're going to have an end of the show. It'd be like, well, what are we talking about this week? We don't know. I mean, there's still always be stuff to talk about. It's just, as I get older, I think I get a little more finicky on what I want to see and devote my time to.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to get invested in. That's why I'm glad you said like Patriot, because that's kind of like a hidden gem. It's like, if you weren't flipping through Amazon, you would never find that. I mean, that's just not something that, so there are shows like that on other platforms. You just got to look for them, like Dogs of Berlin. I wouldn't have really known about that unless you told me about it. And that turned out to be a great show too. So, it's just like anything, you really have to pick and choose, sort through it. I'll start something. If it's not good in like 10, 15 minutes, I'm like, I'll watch it later or I won't watch it ever. So, just depends.
Yeah, that's, there isn't a whole lot there for me. I did finish the main storyline of Red Dead Redemption a few days ago. It took a long time to get there. And it was really good. I mean, the voice acting and execution on it was really good. But it did get a little long in the tooth, in my opinion, which I think is kind of expected for those games. But they really went for a certain level of epicness that, I haven't really seen in a lot of games before. So the ambition was there, very similar to like Uncharted series, but a little bit more dramatic. And
that's a game I want to get into.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a tragedy to some extent. They had some really cool
tuberculosis and dies.
Well, it's kind of the path he's on, but it isn't necessarily, not to try to like, give anything away, but it's not necessarily, drives his decisions, so to speak. But it's not like you're just watching somebody just slowly like, wither up
waste away.
Yeah,
it's not Doc Holliday, people.
Yeah, exactly. So there's that element to it, but yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it.
Nice.
And now I'm like in the epilogue, which I think is what ties this game together with the original or whatever.
Yeah.
The original, whatchamacallit, the first game. One. Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Yeah.
And so I just haven't played that because I'll be honest, like I was a bit fatigued where I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Where are we going to go from here,
It's a big game. It's very ambitious and, even though it has its flaws, hats off to those guys for putting it out. It's very cool. I'll get to it eventually. I'm not in a rush, but I know I'll finish it up soon.
Yeah. So other than doing that, and then just been playing, still been playing a lot of PUBG, PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds. So that's been pretty fun. And
with, Warwolf Prime,
Grimwolf.
Oh, Grimwolf,
werewolf.
Grimwolf.
Yeah. Nice. Back in our WoW days, that's what Grimwolf was where I first met his alter ego.
Okay.
So but we've been doing some of the streaming and stuff like there. So it's twitch.tv / Harsch, SHARSCH. Go over there, subscribe to my channel, show some support. I'll love you forever.
Yes.
Good. All right. Well, I hope everybody out there has a wonderful new year heading into 2019. We'll have some new content around the corner and future episodes for you to look forward to. If there's anything you want us to talk about, let us know. We're more than happy to discover something new that normally wouldn't cross our paths. But outside of that, thanks to you all for coming by. Make sure you subscribe to our podcast if you haven't already on iTunes. And you can follow us over at Twitter at Sean Harsch or at Ryan Harsch. And any last words there, Ryan?
No, it's just I'm glad we're done with the hell that is Christmas.
Oh yes,
and we're ready to move into a new year full of promises.
Amen, brother.
Yes.
All right, guys, have a good year. Take care. See you next time.